It started on August 24th. 3 San Antonio police officers shot while pursuing a suspect.
And within 2 weeks from that day, a total of 6 SAPD officers were shot in different yet similar scenarios while trying to make arrests. Those shootings sparked a tense back and forth between the police chief and Bexar County DA Joe Gonzalez. Accusations about police work falling short or the DA's office failing to prosecute. That launched the idea for this KSAT Explains. We're taking a step back here to explain what agency plays what role and at what point in the criminal justice system. If somebody said, describe the criminal justice system, your eyes just flashed. What would your answer to that be?
It is a big question, and probably that would be the word I would use offhand, big.
Most people have no idea of the complexity of the process.
Discretion is inherent in every single part of the system.
What I'm trying to do is set the record straight about what our role is, that everybody has a role.
It begins with a law enforcement agency.
Let's say that there's some offense that occurs within an officer's presence.
An officer can make an arrest then and there without a warrant.
You still have to fill out what's called a probable cause affidavit. And that's basically a legal document that explains to a judge why you arrested that person.
Or law enforcement does more of the investigating before the arrest, typically in the case of a crime they did not witness, or perhaps where no suspect was found at the scene.
Then you take the probable cause affidavit to the judge first. Get the judge to approve the probable cause affidavit and issue a warrant. That warrant is your legal authorization to then go arrest that person.
Then that suspect heads to jail. What most of us consider being booked into jail starts with a process called magistration.
The district court judges appoint county magistrates to handle everything related to magistration.
And at that point, the district attorney's office has the case.
They get an appointment from a public defender and from a prosecutor. They analyze whatever is appropriate as it relates to a charge.
A magistrate judge sets a person's bond.
We only recommend bonds, that the magistrate judges are the ones that set bonds.
The magistrates are individual judges. As such, nobody can tell them, not even other judges, district court judges or county court of law judges are unable to tell them how to set bail.
A magistrate considers the charge, whether there is probable cause, potential threat to community safety, and the suspect's criminal history. In April 2022, the state began requiring that. A person's previous run-ins with the law are detailed in the statewide public safety report system.
The public safety reporting system includes everybody's criminal history upon arrest anywhere in the country.
Bail is the dollar amount that's supposed to ensure someone shows up in court.
Well, if someone pays out of pocket, they're usually paying what we call a cash bond. So they're paying 100% of the bond amount, and they're promising that whole cash amount to the court if they fail to appear.
If they show up when they're supposed to, whomever paid that bond gets the money back. If a person uses a bail bond company,
the bondsman is posting a promise to pay the full amount if you fail to show up. But you're only paying him like a premium on an insurance policy.
Usually around 10%. So a suspect has been arrested, their bail has been determined, they know what charge they're facing. Now what is law enforcement tasked with before they, quote unquote, turn a case over to a DA's office?
Well, I would say at that point the case has already been turned over to the DA's office.
That's typically when our part of the process begins.
The thinking is there is enough evidence to charge this person with the crime. That is why the person was arrested, in theory, in the first place.
Who decides what charge a person is facing?
Well, initially law enforcement will come in with the prisoner already having a particular charge in mind, and we will review that and either agree or disagree.
There are two types of local courts in which cases can be prosecuted: a county court and a district court.
A county court at law handles misdemeanor cases cases in the state of Texas. Those are Class B and Class A misdemeanors where somebody can go to jail for up to a year. A district court in Texas handles felony cases, which start at the death penalty level or capital cases on down to state jail felonies.
Felony cases require an indictment from a grand jury, which is made up of local residents, similar to a trial jury. An indictment means that jury believes there is enough evidence for the case to move forward.
If the person is charged with a felony and he doesn't bond out, we have 90 days to prepare that case for indictment.
If those 90 days pass without an indictment, the defendant can ask for a lower bail. If the person does bond out of jail, the timeline for indictment is much less black and white.
So it could be up to a year, depending on how long the terms are.
A suspect who had not been indicted in an 11-month-old case was accused of shooting 3 San Antonio police officers in late August. Those shootings set off a tense back and forth between SAPD and the Bexar County DA's office that's played out over several weeks. I asked the San Antonio Police Department for an interview about their role in the criminal justice process. They declined. But here's what the police chief told KSAT in a previous interview this month.
What is the process once a case goes from your office to the DA's office? Is there follow-up? Is there communication until it goes to trial?
They're supposed to be. They're supposed to be.
The Bexar County District Attorney's Office has its own investigators.
They at times will have to gather some of the evidence that may be missing. They may have to locate witnesses. Sometimes what they have to do is transport witnesses to court.
Jesse Garcia was indicted in that 11-month-old case 2 weeks after he was arrested for allegedly shooting those 3 officers. His bond has been revoked. Once a suspect is indicted, prosecution can then proceed. But how that case proceeds?
Well, it depends.
Again, that depends.
It just depends on the nature of the case and what kind of case we're talking about.
A literal case-by-case basis. Every case comes with its own circumstances, witnesses, and evidence. And technology is making that a double-edged sword. Sometimes there are hours of footage from body cameras, surveillance cameras, even doorbell cameras these days, and someone has to review that. In this process, someone's legal opinion weighs heavily every step of the way.
It starts with the discretion of law enforcement. Who do we investigate? Who do we decide to arrest?
The district attorney's office has a discretion as to what cases that they're going to accept from the police, when they accept those cases from the police, how they file those cases.
And a jury. You have to convince 12 people chosen from the community that someone is guilty ultimately. Opinion is huge.
The individual body that has the most discretion within the system is really within the DA's office.
The district attorney told me his investigators do work with SAPD investigators and that he and the police chief are having conversations. Gonzalez also said that he feels like his office has made improvements in recent weeks on their communication with law enforcement. Now, to check out all of our KSAT Explains coverage, you can scan this QR code you see right here or look for the Explain section on the KSAT YouTube page. We'll be right back.